All right, I'll call the roll.
Senator Carroll.
Never mind. I was getting ready to jump on it. I'm sorry.
Senator Carroll.
Present remotely.
Thank you.
Present remotely.
Thank you. Senator McGarvey.
I'm present remotely.
Thank you. Senator West. Senator Wise.
Present in the room.
Representative Fisher.
Present remotely.
Thank you. Representative Hart.
Present in the room.
Representative Palumbo. Representative Reed.
Here in the room.
Co-Chair Petrie.
Present in the room.
Chair McDaniel.
Present in the room. Very well. We've got a quorum duly constituted to conduct business. We'll go ahead and get started. All right. Janice, Kevin, you guys are up first. Go ahead and give us your overview, high-level overview, preferably.
That's what we're planning on doing today, Chairman.
Very well.
So, good morning, Chairman McDaniel, Chairman Petrie, and other members of the committee. My name is Kevin Cardwell, Deputy State Budget Director, and I have with me today Janice Thomas, who is also Deputy State Budget Director. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today just to talk through an overview of our proposed budget instruction changes, which is a key role in the overall Commonwealth's budget process. So, in this testimony today, in our outline, we've just got 3 goals that we want to touch on: truth in budgeting, organizing the information in the most efficient manner, and then adjusting to changing circumstances. So I'm going to talk about the first 2, and then Janice is going to wrap up today. So under the pieces of the truth in budgeting, one of the things we'd like to recommend and request this time is to permit the budgeted personnel vacancies to remain in the baseline budget. So that the baseline budget is accurately depicted. This would also, by definition, the budgeted personnel positions like operating expenses, grants, loans, and benefits, and capital outlay should remain together rather than being separated into another level as far as the vacancies, moving them out to a growth or additional budget request. And by removing those funded vacant positions, which almost always exist because of turnover in a particular agency, deviates from the agency's actual budget plans and baseline budget. So we would just like to see those to remain together and stay in the baseline budget. A few other changes that we'd like to recommend as far as the organization. The annual increments we've been doing in the past, we've been showing those as 1%, and we've been including that in the defined calculations. We would like to recommend to move that into a separate additional budget request item. That would have that treated similarly to other areas of the budget, to where we're asking for or agencies are asking for expansion or additional items. And most of the defined calculations budget requests, like the workers' comp premiums, health premiums, and the retirement, are basically treated the same between the executive's proposal and the enacted budget that comes out of the General Assembly, with your changes that are incorporated into that. But usually, if there's something included in our budget for workers' comp, it usually carries forward in some fashion into the enacted budget. That's not always the case with the 1% increments, and that's the reason we were hoping to shift that to a separate additional budget request item instead of a defined calc item. A minor change on the priority ranking summary report, which is the summarization of an agency's additional budget request items. We're just simply adding the page number on there so it's easier for all parties to be able to locate the detailed information inside a budget request. And then lastly, I'll touch on and then turn it over to Janice, is we'd like to eliminate the special retirement forms. With the passage of House Bill 8 and moving forward with the KERS, how we'll be funding the non-hazardous unfunded liability now with a fixed allocation, we feel those forms are no longer, that extra set of forms is no longer needed and would be a redundant item. So those are what we'd like to request.
Okay, and I just want, is it okay to go on and proceed? Okay, thank you. The last proposal is adjusting to changing circumstances. My mic's not on. Is that better, Spring? Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. The last proposal is to adjust to changing circumstances. So, for instance, the Chris personnel system debt service is no longer needed, so we've removed that from the list of defined calculation. As you're aware, defined calculations are mandated increases to the budgets, such as facility security, workers' comp, and areas related to that. We also suggest to eliminate the agency publication exhibit. We don't feel like that is necessary. A lot of the agency's information is now on their websites, can be found there. And lastly, we've aligned the timing of the strategic plan submission in line with the statutory reference to have that submitted at the same time the budget is submitted. In prior budget instructions, we had it submitted earlier, I believe it was October 16th, and we requesting the change to just put it in line with the statutory requirement and have that submitted at the same time as the budget. So that concludes our proposed changes to the budget instructions. If it's okay, I'd like to take a moment to discuss the structure of an agency budget, if that's okay. So there's three main areas of the structure of an agency budget request that you're aware of. The baseline budget for 23 and 24, we would limit the baseline to the FY22 revised budget, excluding the continuing appropriations, any mandated allotments, or any discontinued programs, as well as any one-time funding. So for instance, if there's one-time funding, we would remove that, and some of those one-time funding might be purchase of equipment. So you may have an agency that purchased some equipment, so we would like to remove that from the baseline budget. Define calculations, have those separately, and then just have the additional budget requests. So that basically makes up the three components of the agency budget request: baseline, defined calculations, and additional budget request. So that's all that we have on the budget instructions. If you have any questions, we're happy to take those.
At this time, does anybody have any questions at all? All right, so what we're looking for is, are you going to be giving our staff access to KBUD so we can submit these things electronically?
Access to KBUD.
The same way that GOPM gets the ability to view those forms as changes are made. I believe this was in the budget instructions 2 years ago, and we were going to try to make it work, but we couldn't get it worked out with the views.
So we provide electronic PDFs of the budget request, and
After it's all said and done, so the correction pages tend to end up being sometimes an issue, not getting the same correction pages or not knowing which correction pages happened in which order, things like that.
That's something that we'd be glad to work with your office on to see if we can come up with something that may improve that process this time. Unfortunately, there are some replacement pages that have to happen, and we agree it can get to be that we have instructed them to send the agencies to instruct them to send them to both places, but we realize sometimes that fails to happen. So, but we can work on that, and we can even stress that when we have our meeting with the agencies.
And if there is an issue with that access, let us know, all right, so that we can try to work through this in August, September, October,
Certainly.
rather than
Sure.
March. I mean, not that we ever all get frustrated by March, but it might happen.
Understand.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Very good. Okay,
All right, thank you.
sounds good. All right, next up we have the Judicial Branch. Lori and Carol, I think you're here. Welcome. Congratulations, Lori.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, guys, very much. What we have today might be a little overkill, but I think we can be quick.
I mean, you're the only one that came with 5 slides. So you,
But they're going to be really quick, I promise. But good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to participate in this testimony today. I asked Carol when we got the call, I said, have we ever testified on the budget instructions before, and she's Carol. No. So, thank you. And maybe for a good reason, because I think we may just be following the executive branch and sort of saying what they said. We weren't exactly sure what they were, and appreciated Jenny and the insight earlier this week. We agree. We would love to see the vacant positions included in the baseline and staying, instead of being pulled out as a separate funding item. For us, those are active positions that we're in the process of filling almost always. It's a snapshot. We may be about to offer a position to someone on that list the next day frequently. So I think that would be a great benefit. Carol, I don't know if there's anything. Okay. And I think also I would defer to Carol because we had the last two items we'd heard, but I think taking the increment request out of the defined calculation seems to make probably a lot of sense.
Yeah, I really agree with everything that they said as far as the budget instructions go.
But regardless, obviously happy to work with you guys in any way and any follow-up questions. We're kind of going to take this as an opportunity real quick to make sure we're on the same page, I think, with how we're going to start reporting expenditures to you going forward. So excited about the language. Appreciate, and this slide, this was section 12 out of House Bill 556, that it had replaced on page 10 of our budget. Carol, if you want to flip to that slide, lines 15 through 22 in their entirety. And so originally, we were going to be reorganizing our budget by these budget units. And appreciate the opportunity to discuss this, and you presented us a different opportunity to report these expenditures with new language in 556. So Carol, I just felt like this was an opportunity to make sure we understood exactly what you want us to do, because we want to do it the way you are asking us to. But the new language, as you can see on this slide, we're going to report actual expenditures of funds from fiscal year 2021 and budgeted expenditures for fiscal year 21-22 by fund source and individual location or office. We're going to do this for the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, our circuit court, our family court, our district court, the administrative office of the courts, judicial retirement, our local facilities fund, and then our use allowance contingency fund. And then it says, and for services performed by the circuit court clerk's offices. I think that may be the only place left, and I appreciate the clarification, Chairman, that you offered Jenny this week, understanding. I think we had some question about whether you were asking us to report by county. Okay, thank you. That will help. Because as you can imagine, we'll have maybe one district judge covering 4 counties. It'd be very difficult for us to break it down by county. So thank you. And Carol, I don't know any clarification you have. I wasn't sure though on the 4 services performed by circuit court clerk's offices, but we can work with budget staff to figure out that.
Yeah, it's the clerk's offices.
Okay.
Good.
And Carol's already talked to Zach, and we're going to work on the form that you want this in, and we're going to have this to you before September 1st, but I know we're doing end of the year closeout now, so Carol hasn't had a chance. And if you have any questions for us, we'll be happy to take them. An opportunity to thank you again for the language in 556 on the one-time money for our technology upgrades. We are moving on these projects as quickly as we can right now, and happy to provide an update at any time later if you'd like to hear. I know we've got a meeting this afternoon with our jailers. And if I don't have anything else, Carol, do you? No. Okay.
Very good. Anybody have a
Okay.
question? All right.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. All right. Jay, last up.
Good morning. I've been watching these things for over 20 years now. I'm not sure how I feel about appearing here, but I'll give it a whirl. We are supportive of the concept of taking out the retirement exhibits based on the passage of House Bill 8, and we would also appreciate the ability to keep positions in our base rather than trying to deal with them in some other way. We too are filling positions all the time, and so having that flexibility would be most helpful for us.
Good deal.
And if anybody has any other questions, I'd be more than happy to attempt to answer them.
No? All right. At
Thank you,
some
sir.
point, I want to have a conversation about the fourth floor renovations, but that's
All right.
down the line when you catch up on it.
Yeah, we're working on several processes like that, sir.
Understood. All right, very good. Okay.
Thank you.
At this point, we have two motions. First of all, the chair will entertain a motion to direct the co-chairs to work with LRC staff to finalize the 2022 to 2024 budget instructions and formally present them to the LRC for adoption. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I got a second by Senator Hart. Who made the motion? No, I missed it. Sorry. All right, Representative Reed. Okay, very well. All right, is this a roll call vote? You can do it either way. All right, well, just a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank heavens. Ayes have it. Okay. Second motion, we're going to direct our staff to send out defined calculation letters to specific agencies before the 2022 to 2024 budget instructions are finalized. Representative Reed? Senator Wise? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Guys. Aye. Very well. Okay, at this time, we've got time left on the clock. Anybody want to sit here for 43 more minutes and talk about something? Otherwise, all right, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you all very much. Good memory.